So what do you understand by customer behavior? There's a certain agenda we're going to talk about in the next 30 minutes where I'll address on the factors that affect customer behavior, our understanding on the factors, as well as a few tips and hacks with context to how do we understand this customer behavior all in all. So welcome everybody to Safe Jobs platform, and we're live here today and glad to see all of you coming up and listening to me on this beautiful platform. So welcome everybody, and let's just start with the topic, understanding client's behavior. What is a client's behavior or a customer's behavior first? So customer's behavior refers to as an individual's buying habits, right? Or including social trends or maybe frequency patterns, background factors that basically influence their decision to buy something. That means to buy services. If we go with our industry, it is to buy services. Businesses basically study customer and behavior to understand their target audience and create more enticing services and products and offers customized to their solutions, right? So customers' behavior generally doesn't describe to who is basically using your services, but they're basically trying to understand what services you're being offered, right? And how they basically perceive you, your company, your organization, and your understanding towards the product which you're pitching into them. So from the marketing and sales perspective, if I go through, it is more of communication between the customers within context to the businesses in a very productive and delightful way, right? So customers' behavior can be morely influenced into three typical factors to start with, right? That will be number one, that will be personal factors. Number two will be psychological factors, and number three will be social factors, right? So let's just dive deep into it and understand these factors. Okay, so the main first factors we need to start with, we can go with first is the personality traits. If I go with the first and the foremost, because when you have to pitch into the customer, if we start understanding from the Spanko point of view, where we do the suspecting first and then we do the prospecting, and then we have to take the approach, where in the approach the personalities are one very important point which we need to understand, and that is the behavior, where from the customer's end it is the behavior. He'll look into you and he'll understand that what the personality you are carrying and how you are pitching your product. That is the first phase of the company, is the personality of yours, right? So the background, the upbringing, the way of talking, the shapes and size, the way he's dressed up, the talking style, all of this comes in context with the personality traits, right? So some customers will be very jovial, right? Very outgoing and very talkative. Others will be very, very quiet and collected, and they'll be very silent people, right? And some of them, they'll fall in between both of them, either the very happy ones or the jovial ones, either the very silent killers or the middle ones, who sometimes fluctuate depending on the people as they understand when they come and meet them, right? So understanding your target audience in this case lies at a very, very vital way in understanding the customer's behavior. Okay. Secondly, if we go with the psychological responses, right, where from the psychological responses, if we take, it plays a very, very significant role in terms of the customer's behavior from a business development point of view, or a BDM point of view, or from the face of the company who needs to serve the customer or to sell its services. It's very, very important to understand the customer psychologically as well, right? But it is equally difficult in terms of the prediction, right? We can be wrong at sometimes, we can predict it right also. That's hit and trial method if we go to, right? So to go with the prediction part, that's because someone's response in this case will be basically more of a situation based, or more of in terms of the perception part or the attitude that they carry, right? So, and that can vary from day to day as well. So it is not very important कि जो attitude है, it will be good on the first meeting and it will change on the second meeting, right? It varies in the mood as well. So this understanding of the customer from the service point of view goes by being patient from our end first, understanding the customer's back end from our end as part as doing the homework analysis, right? And from the customer's perspective, if I go through, it will be more, it is like if a customer is more patient and satisfied and then is very silent and calm, the next day he's he's repping for an urgent issue and he's like obnoxious about it, right? So all of this customers' psychological responses will basically represent what these person are or what kind of traits that the person carries, right? And it will definitely help you to basically diffuse that stressful situations and basically prevent a major potential churn, that is the right word if I need to address. Yeah. So this was the second one. So firstly I addressed was the personality, second was the psychological responses from the customer's end, right? Third, on context with understanding the client's behavior, is from the social trends that happen, right? Social trends, if I take that understanding, social trends are basically external influences, right? And the customers basically listen to, or maybe if you say in a very layman's approach, it is word of mouth, right? And this is more in context with the recommendations that you have, the societal norms that the person carries or the client carries, right? Or the cultural aspects as well, right? Where in terms of the industry relevant meaning, we say that okay, somebody used the organization's services and there was an issue or a dispute with it, and that word was spread in maybe 10 more clients, right? Out of this 10 more clients, the same 10 clients that were approached by us was basically then the word of mouth spread in this case, where a negative impression came into us, and such things spread from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 14, 14 to 28. That's how it goes and multiplies, right? So in that case, the society and the social trends and the external influences that happen basically affect the customer's decision making ability, right? So he'll always be dicey about taking, okay, should I opt for this company's services or should I opt for B company's services, right? That's how it goes. So in this case, from us or from marketing or from the sales perspective, if I go from the business development perspective, it is more of we giving the best out of us, but understanding the customer and his perception towards the brand, right? That plays a very important role, right? So this social trends can just not be limited to word of mouth. It will be on the viral posts that happen on Facebook or on Instagram, or maybe videos uploaded on YouTube for the brand. That goes for defamation as well as for formation as well. So right, so all of these cases, these are, I consider them as temporary, not a permanent thing, because services change every day. Quality of service remains the same no matter what conditions it goes, right? So it is 1 in 99 which has problems, and that can lead to depletion in services, right? Now, the next thing I wanted to go on with is customer behavior analysis in this case, right? So what exactly is customers behavior analysis, right? So analysis in two types, if I go through. One is the qualitative, second one is the quantitative observations, both can from our end, right? This is understanding the client. We are understanding the client in terms of selling services to him or asking him to use our services for a very long time. So right, in that context, if I go and connect all of it, we are understanding the customer's behavior as well, right? So where the observation will be both qualitative and quantitative defined, right? And this will be understanding that how the customers basically interact with our company and our company representatives, right? So the customers segmentation in case of buyers personas will be more or less as a common characteristics for all most cases, right? Where the observations will be fairly based on the customer's journey, if he's done it, if he's already using the services, or maybe somebody else's services that he's been using it, and how he has interacted with and showed his persona in terms of interaction with the company. Yeah, so a customer's behavior analysis will definitely provide us an insight in terms of the variables that we have, or how do we influence the audience in this case, or how do we influence our customer in context with the services, right? It will more or less give you the idea of the motives, basically priorities, and how the decision making abilities of the customer in terms of availing services, in terms of putting in money to use services, to go in contact directly for the logistics and supply chain. We say that, yeah, every now and then we try to do that suspecting part. We do a lot of suspecting. We then finalize some of the clients which we need to prospect and then approach them, and most of the clients lose off from the point we approach them as well, right? There is a problem in terms of approaching, where you will go in such a way, the way of talking, the way of impression, the first impression basically that you give for yourself will definitely give an idea about the company, because you are the face of the company, right? So what and how and why, right? Firstly, I'll go with the why part. Why do we need to conduct customers behavior analysis? To understand, right? So number one, why do we need to do it? Firstly, content prioritization as well as personalization, right? I'll repeat it. That's content prioritization as well as personalization, right? So this will be more or less market specific, area specific, region specific, and customer specific, right? So depending on the needs of the customer, depending on the requirements of the customer, we need to basically understand his preferences, right? His tendencies, and that's how we're going to extract some money out of it, or some business out of him, right? That is content personalization and prioritization. Second one is customer value. In customer value, the basic value of the customer and the key business need with context to the customer is the ability to predict the customer's overall value, right? So that value will be on the basis of his brand, monetary output that is giving, or maybe whatsoever X number of units or X number of services that he has already used in the past, and his balance sheet shows it all, right? So here the customer's behavior analysis will add efficiency to the process, where we'll be easily identifying the ideal customer characteristics while we approach them, right? So by targeting these personas from our end, it will be more of the business point of view, where our businesses will attract a brand loyal customer, right, before our competition. That is the main crux of it. The third one comes in as content optimization, right? So depending on the needs and the customer value understanding, we will create a content that will be optimized to his personal needs before approaching him, right? So in that case, the data that we obtain from the customer's behavior, right, or the analysis that we did from our back-end part, should basically help us in optimizing our marketing campaigns, right? So that will nonetheless add and narrow our focus to the most valuable segment of the customer, right? But also engage them to their preferred channels as well, right? So additionally, this analysis can basically help us to be sure that the content, the customized content that is delivered to the most effective manner and in the effective timing to the customer, right? That is where we identify the roadblocks that happen between the client side and the organization side, right? This cumulatively will basically increase the opportunity for more upselling and cross-selling, right? That is how it goes. Number 4, customer retention. The customer retention part, if I go to, it's more or less like attracting important customers and loyal customers back, right? So it is like more of the retention part, right? Mostly 50% as a certain data which I was going through. 50% of the customers, basically what they expect is a special recognition that they are a good customer. A small example as a mobile phone, right? So you've been using, for example, you've been using an ex telecom service company's services for maybe 2 years, and it was showing as a gold customer. Maybe after 10 years, you went to platinum customer, right? Or maybe diamond customer. So in that case, you have that appreciation from the company. So thanks for being with us for a longer time, right? So that is some kind of expectation every customer has in maybe any industry relevant, right? Even like in our organization as well, where they may start to look elsewhere, but may or may not acknowledge. But the behavior analysis in this case will mostly help us to reduce the churn and understanding the market of the customer in both the good and the bad customer traits as well, right? Okay, so now next thing coming up to is customer behavior analysis, right? So customer behavior analysis, if I go to, the first thing that I wanted to address is segmenting the audience, right? The first step in conducting customer behavior analysis goes through is more of the segmentation part, where we do the segmentation of the customer and we understand his demographic traits, like the location where he's working, the area where he's catering to, the region that is doing, the market that is doing, all of the traits in context with that particular customer, where more of his activities and his engagement things are also taken into place, right? So to considering the demographic traits that we had, the engagement tendencies that he does on the internet or on the web in terms of using it, Facebook, the blogs that is shared, the company's magazines that come out, right, bi-quarterly, quarterly, yearly, right, preferred media channels that the company likes to endorse to and endorse in itself, right? How has it been shopping in terms of the services that is providing, right? To understand that all of these traits, right, you need to do that back end part from your end. Next, you need to identify the characteristics of those customers who are the most valuable, right? You have 20 customers and 20 customers want to work for you or want to avail your services. But out of those 20 customers, the prospecting that you did, you have those 5 of those quality ones which you can work for a very long time, that you find that can have more consistency for the brand. They have been consistent in terms of providing their services. For us, it is more of keeping those customers with us for a very long time, so that when the customer grows, we grow with them, right? That's how we go with it. So there's a certain analysis. So for example, there's a name called as RFM analysis that happens, which basically outlines the recent and frequent customer behavior and bias, and the data analysis is done through that analysis, right? So it also calculates the customer's lifetime value, right, which plays a very important role. For example, a brand which has been in the service for a very, very long time, right, and wants to avail our services, right, will have that brand value, will have that consistency, and we know that we will be obliged to serve them our services in that case, right? Number 2, identifying the key benefit for each group, both ends, right? So in that case, it is very, very unique in choosing, right, the right customer, the right business, and the right imperative of the identity that it has, right? So looking beyond the product and the services as well, there are more or less the external factors that the customer is influenced in terms of buying, right? And that helps him to basically take that buying decision, right? So how conscious the customer is towards taking a decision for your brand, right? Number 2 goes in as how urgent is that purchase of services, how urgent requirement is there, as mentioned, right? And is the customer ready to spend that much, or is the customer ready to spend for that quality that we give, right? Understanding and thinking about that in this context will basically help you to understand the customer needs in a more better way, and you can improve that customer experience, right? Number 3, we are allocating quantitative data, right? First 2 was extracting the qualitative data, right? Understanding it from the customers, right? Now the next step goes into obtaining that quantifiable information, right? So that information about the customers, about their data, the output that they bring to the balance sheet, the resources, right? This can all be done by taking both internal and external sources, right? It is just doesn't go that you can go and do the research and development part from your end. It will require some resources from both ends, right? From within the company, like for example, you start pulling data, you visit that company's Facebook official page or a LinkedIn updates where there's blogs running it, or maybe you subscribe to all of them, right? You try and understand the social media insights that the company posts, right? Or the product usage reports. So these are all quantifiable data, right? So you can basically have that proof, and you can understand and create a document of yours, right? Secondary outlets in this case will be more or less offering the customer reviews and competitors analytics in this case. Competitors से कितना business गया, कितना business extract वो competitors से कर चुके हैं, how much they have tried to, how much they have been doing it with this A competitor or B competitor, and what benefit that we will have if we start giving our services to them, right? So through the combination of all of these 3, we'll have a very broad scope in terms of the information of the work that our customer does, our client does, or analyzing as well as the behavior. Number 4, we are comparing the both quantitative and qualitative data together now. So if you have the back-end data, the front-end data, right? Now we need to go through the customer's journey and map, and using these data sets as our reference, right? So where we'll look into it, and the personas in this case, where they've basically understood it or not, or they've been understanding the customer's loyalty or the journey part, right? Last one, we are applying this analysis to our campaign that will run, and we need to pitch in front of our customer, right? So this is where we are understanding the behavior and capitalizing on it, right? Where we are trying to understand and deliver the best from our end in terms of our persona first, in terms of making the advantages for the opportunities from our end, in terms of our quantifiable data that we have, the 3 traits that we have from our end, right? So we are filled with knowledge right now, right? That we need to portray in front of the customer in such a way that he's convinced enough to avail our services. So before rolling out all of our initiatives, it goes on with using the habitual creatures, right? The more loyalty towards the brand, and not just losing them in by not making them understand what we are serving. Okay. The last point I wanted to address was analyzing the results. So after you did all of it from your end, you will use these metrics in terms of conversion rates, in terms of acquisition costs, in terms of customer lifetime cycle, right? Your updated campaigns within context to the client and the customer, and then analyze new technology, more events, and then influence the customer's needs, right? So these were the 6 main points which I wanted to say in one and for all. So from the client's perspective, if I go through, there are just 3 basic types of clients, if that was my understanding. The first basic type is the bargainer, right? He'll be always bargaining and looking for a good deal. He'll be frequently challenging the work because he'll expect discounts frequently, right? He'll be more trying to haggle with the prices part and the offerings, where manipulation and aggressive tactics happen more or less. Second type of client is the explorer. Explorer will be looking for authenticity and individuality, right? So it will be more attracted on basis of your website, where you will be more work oriented in terms of the field, and he wants to find out more in order to basically get that interpersonal connection. from the customer services as well and experiences. The third customer is the exclusive one. The exclusive customer is the one who is desiring everything that he wants in a very strong interpersonal connection that he wants to build with you, right? Where seeking products and services that are not readily available to everybody else, right? He'll be very, very attracted to premium things, right? Premium services. He'll be reflecting individuality, in this case, a little bit of that luxury status, if I take it in that way. Plus, superior customer service is what he's expecting out of it, right? So in that case, this type of customers reflect more of the values and in not just the money matters for them. So right. So in this case, we don't need to sell them, and we'll be more or less making connection out of it, right? So from understanding the kinds of, I just suggest that, and just don't sell the product or the service. Understand your clients more. Get to know them first. Get to know their background. Get to know their industry. Get to know their outputs, what they're doing. When you have all of that clarity in you from your end, and then you go with the approach part, spend that extra time in understanding the needs, in understanding the areas where the customer thinks that he lacks, the output that is giving in, right? So the more you spend time in doing the back end research or the part, the more easy it goes when you go in front of him and when you start talking logically in front of him, rather than just making connections with hello, hi and good WhatsApp messages as good mornings and good evenings. It is more or less building that connection on an interpersonal level where you understand him from the business that he's doing, and the same from your as the business that you're pitching in front of him, right? That is, to sum up, that is like beginning with end in the mind, right? So it is very, very important when you have that initial consultation is the first phase that you do basically with your client, right? So where you will be asking questions and the customer or the client starts to understand you, and that begin that building trust in you. The more they trust you, the more faster they'll purchase. The less time they'll take to trust, the lesser it will be for the purchase part to happen, right? In terms of your services. So the appointments that you do, the visualization in this case, the back-end homework that you guys do, all of it, you need to be in terms of point and shoot attitude in this case, where you have all of the information with you in hand, but share it to the client when and where it's required, right? To the point when it's not required, you don't need to speak it. When it's required, you give him the data and quality data, plus quantify the data as well. Both of this will help you to understand, and the customer will have that loyalty and understanding, the trust factor in you as well as your services. अगर वो trust factor आपका बन जाता है, right? The customer will be more than easy to convince, and he will be more than willing to purchase your services, right? Lastly, the discounts also is a very important role, right? It is where the client understands from the behavior point that we said, the bargaining customer, right? We'll say, okay, rate and all of it is what we'll be talking. So avoid discounting your services to a point when it's very, very much required, where it's very difficult to master in this case, right? So from the confidence level that you carry, you need to understand that you're worth it. Your services are worth, right? And the client is worth as well. So the 90% of the success from the business savvy people comes up with making them understand that they are worth it and their services are worth it, right? So my tip for this session will be more into be very, very confident in what you offer to your clients, right? Both in services and in terms of the pricing part, right? So this will be the most important part from the client's behavior, and have that empathy within you, right? With context to the customer, and always be very, very open to feedback, right? Do not take it into you as a personal feedback. Take it into you as a business feedback, and always try to come up and sum it up and to help it to go into maybe better position rather than lowering your position in this case. Always take follow-ups genuinely, right? Just not for the sake of calling or messaging. Take the follow-ups very genuinely. Build that persona from the data. Be data-oriented and be customer-oriented in terms of just not speaking, but with quantifying everything that you do. use that behavior of yours to go into the data and informing your outreach more, right? Identify your brand trends as well, right? Engagement of data will also allow you to present that future, which will help in terms of the stressful situation sometimes in the market. For example, this COVID situation that we had, where the 2 months there was business loss across the globe, and understand post this now everybody wants to come back, everybody is returning, so try and understand the client as well. And yes, he wants to use your services, never think that he's dicey about it. And the next, cultivate your conversations to click and into content as well, right? Plus talk to the employees, both in the frontliners, right? Practice more of the active listening and social listening in this case as well. Digest in yourself. These all pointers will definitely be very helpful for you in understanding the client's behavior and making sure that you rise to the top and you do the best. Understanding this COVID situation and the market stage right now, make sure that you have that will to do it. Have that confidence, have that understanding, and this will definitely help you to succeed in terms of acquiring better clients for a very long duration in your time. So that was all from my end today, and it was my pleasure to address a beautiful audience, right? So anything and everything which you feel that that can be addressed from our point, right? So that will be, I'm just going through 1 or 2 comments for another 10 seconds and then I need to move out. So thank you, Manisha Bhattacharji. She writes down, your services is amazing and you don't the service electronic, but right. So that's a thank you for, and thank you everybody. Thank you Anand Mishra ji as for your comments. Thank you Ritesh ji. I'm just scrolling it to a few. Thank you so much all, and it was my pleasure to host you today. Right. Signing out today from Safe Jobs. This was Swapnil Ravi Sharma on the topic understanding clients' behavior. Right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day tonight. Bye.